Good morning, Agile DevOps East. How's everybody doing this morning? All right, great group. Everybody had a good breakfast. I know some people are still eating breakfast, so they'll be trickling in. Well, welcome to the first official day of the conference. I know many of you have already been here taking tutorials. I've heard great things about the tutorials that happened over the last 2 days. And then some of you were taking training and getting certified and all that sort of stuff. So welcome to the first official day of the conference. We're glad to have you. And we're actually going to be streaming live. So there is a whole virtual audience watching us out there, which I'll get to in a minute. My name is Allison Wade. I am the president of TechWell. And I also put the program together, but I don't do that without help. Bob Foster also works with me, and then Tariq King and Dione Santiago are also working with me on the programs, more specifically for Tariq and Dione on the AI portion of this conference. So huge thank you to them for reviewing all the papers, and this is a great time to tell you if you would like to submit to speak. Go on our website, look for Be a Speaker, or come find one of us, and we'd love to have you speak at a conference because your experiences are always valuable. All right, so we do have people in the audience. Do we have any internationals here physically with us that have come from somewhere other than the US today? Thank you. Thank you for coming all that way. We really appreciate you. And this is where people are watching from all around the world that have registered for the virtual portion of the conference. As I just mentioned, it's hybrid. We're streaming. People are watching. So basically, we offer the keynotes for free, and some of the vendor talks are also free. But if you want to upgrade and see some talks, if you're in virtual land and you want to see some of the talks, you can pay a fee of $6.29 and also use that promo code to get a discount. They don't get to see all the great things that you guys get to see when you're here in person and experience all the things like the great food we've been having and the great weather we've been having, but they can see some of the talks. We also have a VIP program. How many of you are here with your colleagues or a group of your friends from work? If you want to bring people, we do have a discount program that enables you to bring people. So it's a great opportunity for you to come with your coworkers, send people off in different directions to learn different things and take away different stuff. So let us know if you need help with that. Today you're going to get to play some games. The expo opens today and we have some games. There's an in-person passport game that's super fun. You go around to the booths, you get a stamp, and you are entered to win prizes. And they give away stuff in the expo. We'll do it tonight. You have to be there to win, but it's really cool stuff. Like I think at Star East I saw a Millennium Falcon made out of Lego that it's all sorts of cool stuff. Then on Thursday, there's a punch card game. Same thing, go around and get punches from the vendors, and you can be entered to win a $100 American Express gift card. If you're watching virtually, you can also play the Amazing Race by going around to the booths in the virtual expo and collecting points. And once you've collected 200 points, you are eligible to be entered into the Amazing Race. And there is a $300, a $200, and a $100 American Express gift card. So don't forget to do that. Now I want to tell you about our sponsors. Our premier sponsor is GitHub. We want to thank them for coming. They have a booth at the back, and they have the coolest swag you've ever seen. So don't forget to drop by and see GitHub. And our platinum sponsors, Adaptivist, Pharos, StackSpot. Our gold sponsors, CloudBee, HCL, Coveros, Inflectra, OpenText. Our silver sponsor, QualityWorks. And our bronze sponsor, Buford Fairmont, BrightTest, Checkpoint, GitLab, and Synopsys. So they're all in there. Make sure you go visit them and chat with all of them because they're really what enable us to do great things like receptions and all the sort of cool stuff we do at this conference. So big round of applause for sponsors. All right, so we try to provide a lot of ways for you guys to connect, a lot of networking activities while you're here at the conference, so that you're not just, you can of course all go meet up in the pool bar. That's where I've been going. It's been a lot of fun to see lots of faces there. But there's the expo, and we told you about that, mingling in the expo. But we also provided morning yoga this morning, and there is yoga again tomorrow morning if you want to participate, a way to get you limber for your day when you're going to be sitting in a chair a lot of that day. We also had the Genius and Agile and DevOps Genius Bar. Many speakers are here making themselves available to you. They've given us times that they're available. There is a board up there with those times on there. If you'd like to sign up to sit with someone, if you've got a particular problem you want to discuss, you want to pick their brains, that is the time to do it. And then, like I said, the expo reception tonight, fun time, come get a drink, mix with your peers, and win prizes. So we'll look forward to seeing there. Oh, also to mention, we have an Agile DevOps Leadership Summit on Friday. If you'd like to join that, just go see our registration desk, tell them that you want to attend the Leadership Summit. Fantastic content in there if you're a leader inside your organization or you wanting to be a leader, great stuff for you to go through there. Also, if you're not aware, we have a Slack channel, a TechWell Hub. You can join us, 10,000 people on that hub, and there's many channels. So if you've got a problem and you don't know what you're doing, put it on the hub and somebody will answer you. It's great. You can pick people's brains. We love your feedback. You should have the QR codes. I believe they're on the back of your badges and they're in other locations. It's really important to the speakers that are speaking that you give them feedback. They want to learn and grow. They want to know what you loved about it, what you didn't love it. So sometimes a score is good, but sometimes telling them, hey, this is what I'd like to see, this is what I'd like you to do, that's really, really helpful as well. So don't forget to do both of those things. And then also in our virtual platform, we also have a way, and in the mobile app, we also have a way for you to rate the talks that you're in and give the speakers feedback. All right, so that wraps that up. So now I want to introduce a speaker and a great friend of mine, Tricia Broderick, to you. So some of you were probably lucky enough to be in her tutorials for the last few days, and if you were in her tutorials, you know she is a woman with boundless enthusiasm and boundless amounts of energy. She's a very special human. Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about her professional career. She is the co-author of Lead Without Blame, and she's going to be talking about that very subject this morning, and is a leadership and an organizational advisor. With over 25 years of experience, her transformational leadership ignites the growth of leaders and resilient, high-performing teams to deliver quality outcomes. Tricia boldly role models putting people first. That is true. She aims to create inclusive connections and collaborations that challenge and support people in an authentic, vulnerable, and engaging way. She's a highly rated trainer, coach, facilitator, and motivational keynote speaker. In 2020, she founded her company, Ignite, Insight, and Innovation. Please welcome to the stage, Tricia Broderick.
Hi. I'm always afraid you're going to trip. Like that's the thing you got to get over right away. You don't trip up the stairs, right? So we're all here, and there's one thing that we're all here in common for. We want to succeed. Now I know that you're thinking of somebody at work that doesn't want to, but I promise you they do. Like nobody goes to work going, how can I make everybody miserable today? I know you're thinking of someone, let it go. They are not doing that, right? Everybody wants to succeed. Now, they may want to succeed for different reasons. Everybody has different things that they might be trying to do when they want to succeed. But we do things because we want that result. We want to satisfy that customer, to delight people, to engage. Whatever it is, that's the thing that unites all of us. That's the thing that brings us all together. But I don't think I always succeeded very well. My name is Tricia Broderick. I've had the luxury of being in a variety of roles. From developer, I did a lot of mainframe development, Dial 280, COBOL, PL1, nobody? That's just me? Thank you. I don't feel as old now, thank you. But I got pulled into project management, and I was like kicking and screaming. I'm like, I will not lose my tech cred. And then my love of a check mark came out, people. My need for check marks. And I cried when I let Microsoft Project uninstalled off my computer. I actually cried a little. That's how my level of issues that I have, okay? But I've done a lot of other roles in terms of director of development, director of project management. I've been a consultant. I've done a variety of industries, from financial to gaming to banking to telecommunications, lots of different elements along the ways. But I got lucky. I started using extreme programming in 1999. I started using Scrum in 2005 for a huge government project. And when I say I used Scrum in 2005, let me correct myself. I faked Scrum in 2005, and I was the queen of it. Okay? But like, it started me on a path of leadership that I didn't really understand what it meant. I was a very good developer. I didn't know how to be a leader. Nobody taught me how to really lead. So a lot of times, I did things in a way that had some serious negative impact. And so what I'm sharing today is some of my lessons, some of my cautions. Don't do what I did. That helped me get to a place where I started to really understand what leadership meant. Leadership isn't being the one who writes the most code. Leadership isn't the one who's making sure that they are tracking every single thing and getting it done. Leadership is helping people in a lasting way, not just short term, not just quickly responding and driving some urgency in the organization, but creating an environment where teams are thriving. And I wish I could tell you there's a single checklist. And I'm sorry if you are a speaker and you imply that there's a checklist, I do not mean to offend you. But there is no checklist. There is no one thing that every single one of you can do for your teams, in your organizations, because humans, we will jack anything up, right? And so although there's not a checklist, there is pieces to a puzzle that can fit together. There is a dynamic of things that you can take into consideration. The order you might do them is different. The opportunity to see where two things fit together might be different. But there are things that I should have been looking at. But for me, the puzzle was just really horrible. I couldn't see it. I couldn't see how things fit together. I couldn't see what the next step was. So I went to what I do best: take control. Take over. Only that wasn't helping my teams. But part of the reason I was doing that was because we are phenomenal as humans at telling ourselves lies that make us want to grip and hold hard. And one of those lies that I was telling myself that was causing blame and even shame for myself was I would just walk around and go, they're a team. They're already a team. We're agile. They're a team. Now, I used to make a joke here about the Detroit Lions. You could call them a team, but doesn't make it so. But they're actually doing well this year, so I can't even use that anymore right now. I'm kind of mad. That's a jacked up thing to be from Michigan, and now I'm mad that the Detroit Lions are finally actually winning something because they jacked up my joke. But just telling people at an organization, you're a team, just because they're sitting together doesn't make them a team. Just because you've assigned them to the same project doesn't make them a team. And our definition of team might be off. So let me explain what I mean by that. When you first form people together, if you use Tuckman's forming, storming, norming, right? If I first form this table together, they're still individuals. You walk into that situation, you're like, am I going to do a good job? Am I going to like these people? Do I want to do a good job? You're worried about you. Now, most people get hired with the expectation you have to work with other people. So a lot of times what we see in organizations are groups. They cooperate. And here's what that sounds like. I will do my part, and then I will hand it off to do your part. We don't do this ever in organizations, right? There's no handing off to tests. It's partially why DevOps became a huge initiative, to stop some of the handoff. But what's so bad about handoffs? It's good, they're cooperating, right? We're getting things done. Here's the problem. Anybody ever win with their part even though the whole thing failed? I have. I've gotten a bonus despite totally jacking up the deliverable for the customer. My part, I was good. Now, we can get up, even in a relay race, right? Even if there's 4 people in a relay race, they can get up afterwards. We win or lose together. But I hit my split time. I'm going to get my bonus and my split time. Groups cooperate. For a team, they collaborate. And collaboration goes from my part, your part, to our part. And this is why moving to a team helps even with the blame. Because suddenly, when it's my part, your part, oh, those fingers get pointy, right? Whose issue is this? And we like whip out the fingers to like point at other people because it's not my part. But when we build it together, when we collaborate, there are 3 more fingers pointing back at you. You're part of it. There's no need to blame when you actually are part of the collaboration. But we have organizations full of groups, not full of teams. Teams collaborate, not cooperate. There's value in cooperation. It's better than individuals. But if you really want to start seeing some of the blame go away, if you really want to start seeing some of the benefits of diversity, some of the benefits of collaboration in terms of quality and innovation, and in addition to getting rid of some of the blame, move from cooperating to collaborating. Now we tell ourselves another lie. Do not raise your hand if you are one of the people that say this, because I'm about to mock you. Has anybody heard somebody say this in the workplace? You don't have to say it's you. I hear this all the time. You are quoting a fictional movie about the mob as your business best practice. You are quoting a fictional movie about a mob family. Why do we do this? Why is that saying so common? Why is that a story we tell ourselves, especially as leaders? Because it's hard. When we have to make hard choices, it sucks. I once did a session that just said sometimes being the leader really sucks. You get all the judgment, you get all the blame, you get all this like dynamics, you got to make hard choices, and you are impacting people. But at the end of the day, if you have to lay somebody off, I don't care if it's not personal to you, it is to them. And when you're walking around as a leader acting like it's business, it's not personal, you are leading humans. They have emotions. They have feelings. They have the right to be personal, and it's good. Tap into it. That's part of where you get your creativity. It's where you get your wisdom. It's where you get innovation. Why are we avoiding it? Because we don't know what to do. And so we just want to say, everybody, just show up and be professional. Again, nobody's trying to screw up. So we have to start thinking about what are we providing as leaders that make it so that we can embrace that personal side, that we can embrace collaboration, that we can create environments where people can show up. And this is where I kind of highlight, provide some essential motivators. Now, what do I mean by that? There's 3 of them. One is purpose. You've heard a lot of speakers talking about this. I got to hear Mary and a few others highlight the need for like alignment towards something. If I put 4 people on one team and they're all working on different systems, why would they collaborate? There is no need to collaborate. If you are working on 4 different areas, that daily scrum is just annoying. It is not helping us collaborate because I don't care what you're doing, you're in a different part of the system. So do they have some kind of shared purpose? And when I say shared purpose, the purpose cannot be I said so. That is not a good motivating purpose. It's got to be meaningful. I was the director of development for TechSmith, and one of the products TechSmith makes is Snagit, and it's a screen capture and editing tool with those things. Man, when they were talking about some of the purpose of why we were building this tool so that testers could prove that there's a defect to a developer, oh, this was like heaven for me. Like, I would send screenshots. I'm like, yes, it is a defect, right? There was no more going back and forth. They're like, no, it works on my machine. All of that went away once we record the issue and send it off, and it made defect. I was in heaven. I have never worked so hard on a product because that purpose was meaningful, right? And it shared, and we engaged in it. If you do not have this aligned shared purpose and just expecting people to show up, don't expect innovation. Don't expect creativity. Don't expect collaboration. You need to be providing this. The second one is co-intelligence. Here's what I mean by co-intelligence. When we're working together, I bring a set of skills, knowledge, wisdom. You bring a set of skills, knowledge, wisdom. Together, not only do we get the benefit of both of ours, we get to unlock something totally new too. When Diana Larson and I were writing this book, I came with different experience than she had. We had some similar experience. But when we were writing this book, we unlocked whole new topics in areas that neither one of us has had individually thought about or considered or found the patterns, but our combination together unlocked that new wisdom. When you're trying to build your teams, if you're just building your team trying to go, you do this part, you do this part, you do this part, you're just getting that cooperation and you're missing out on this huge additional value. The more they collaborate, the bigger the co-intelligence gets, the better the results get. So I always get so annoyed, and I'm sorry if this is you, I say it with love. If you get a team performing, do not break them up and put them on 7 new teams. You just took a performing team and pissed them all off. Because now they went back to somebody that was just cooperating when they were collaborating. And the third one is autonomy. Now, us Agilists, we have a few issues. And one of them is we like to get into Agile space, and we hear a lot about servant leadership. We hear about empowering teams. And so we do something like this. Well, I took a training, and I am the leader, but I have been told that I need to empower my team, so you are empowered. Go. And then, boom, it all blows up, right? And then you're like, as a leader, like, oh, they need me. Yay. See, I'll get to come back in and do everything. I empowered them. Why didn't they step up? You cannot. Telling people they're empowered is like telling someone, get courageous. Oh, okay, didn't know. Like, it doesn't work that way. And just telling people they're empowered doesn't mean you trust them or they trust you. You actually have to build this. You have to realize that you were the hub. You did have to make sure everything was going through you back and forth before they got to this point. I had a team once, and this was earlier in software development when you had to actually bring the whole thing down to update it. So you did it at like 3:30 in the morning, and you tried to roll it. Don't judge us. That was the reality, okay? And I had a lead engineer, test engineer, who always kind of handled the release. And every sprint, I was like, dude, you gotta stop being the bottleneck. You can't be the hub about this anymore. Yes, you had to build it, you had to get it, but you are a single point of failure, stop it. And we would have this conversation. And then the next release would come, and what would happen? He took over. Not because he was a jerk, but because something was going wrong, and he was focused on the customer, we have to get something done. But I couldn't get him to stop being the hub, because he could justify why he was the hub before. You had to be the hub to get them to collaboration. You had to help get them working together when they were only cooperating. You had to do that. But do you know how to stop doing it? In his case, he didn't wake up. His alarm didn't go off. He fell asleep and stayed asleep. And the team had to do the release without him, totally. And it was painful. But they did it. And then they asked him not to come the next time because they wanted to get better. There is value of being the hub as a leader up to a point. And after a point, once they start collaborating, you are actually holding them back by being the single point of failure as the leader. If every decision has to go through you, if every point is dependent on you, the team can't scale. But it's hard because it is what helped us get to this point. But there's a saying of some sort that's like, what got you there won't get you, or something. I don't know what the saying is, but yes, it was valuable then. It's actually holding you back now. So when I think about these essential motivators, they're parts of a puzzle. Some of you might already have a strong purpose. Some of you might feel the autonomy is really strong. But if you don't have these three things in place, their ability to collaborate together is very, very low. Their willingness, their interest, that's why we call them motivators, is very low. And I cannot tell you how many times I walk in to a team and the leader is super proud that they're the hub. Super proud that they're the one coordinating everything. Because, let's get real, it feels good sometimes. But you're actually not helping anymore as a leader. It's got to transition. Because we tell ourselves this story, but Trisha, if I'm not the hub, how am I ever going to hold them accountable? What the heck does that even mean? We say it all the time in the workplace. We need to hold them accountable. First of all, the actual definition of accountability is to account. It doesn't actually even mean you're doing it. You just got to report on it. And how many times have I heard this in the workplace? It always has this looming consequence associated to it, but anybody ever have all these like accountability meetings with zero consequences? Like it's not like, my name is Trisha Broderick and I've rarely hit a deadline, right? Never been fired. What does accountability really mean when we're saying this, right? Yes, we want people to engage. But the problem is when we're coming at it as leaders from this thing, this is what helps us get into this blame and shame. We don't have this nice environment where like, we need a single throat to choke. If you are highlighting that, chances are you're going to the next meeting and something you do is going to come out in a way that's going to feel like blame and shame. Trisha, I'm not blaming somebody. I get it. I don't think there's a leader, an executive walking around going, who shall I blame today? No leader's doing that. But it doesn't mean that's not what's felt. That doesn't mean that your behavior isn't what the results of it is. And the impact matters more than your intent. Well, Trisha, do you mean that they should just do whatever they want anytime then because I don't have to hold them accountable? No. But if your only way of getting things done is like, did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? I'm sorry for your life. Because that's not leadership. Instead, how are you creating an environment about inviting responsibility? I had a lead developer once approach me, and he's like, Trisha, my team is a bunch of millennials, and they're not stepping up. I don't know what it is about aging that you forget how annoying your grandparents were to you, that you get to a certain age and you're like, yeah, my turn. Like, I just can crap on the next generation, right? Every generation has pros and cons. Sorry, side rant. Okay, so he's frustrated, right? He says his team's not stepping up. I'm like, okay. Well, who's deciding what's going to get work done? I am. Who's deciding what the estimates? I am. Who's following up with the client? I am. Every question I asked him, his answer was him. He then felt the responsibility, which meant he went above and beyond. If you want your team to feel the pressures and the weight that you do as a leader, stop putting it all on your shoulders. The reason leaders go above and beyond is because they feel the responsibility. But we don't always create situations where our teams can feel that responsibility, where they want the result as badly as you do as a leader. This is tricky. But we have to think about how we're doing that. And one of the ways that we can do this is by increasing self-organization. Now, people hear this term, and they assume it means no leaders. Aw, that's just dumb. Because you can't even get to that point without a leader being the hub initially. But what it does mean for self-organization is that leaders are no longer the hub. But Tricia, they won't need me anymore. Aw, yes, they will. But they need you in different ways. They don't need you, if you've given them the knowledge and skills for the current stuff, they need you to keep leveling them up. How many people have ever experienced where they knew what to do next, but you just sat there and waited for someone to give you the official okay? Oh, you liars. There we go. Like, right? You all sit there on teams, and you know what needs to be done, but you don't always feel that autonomy, that ability to do it, because you're not actually creating self-organizing teams. But self-organizing teams scale. They can actually accomplish things that you couldn't do when you're just the hub. But Tricia, I won't have a job once they're self-organizing. Aw, yes you will. Because the thing that you'll deal with nonstop once they start self-organizing is this lie. We don't have time to learn. This will become your primary thing you are dealing with once they are self-organizing. We treat learning like it's this quiet, hidden thing off in the corner that we shouldn't talk about. But the reality is, knowledge work, what you do, requires learning. It is not a separate entity. It is the thing you are actually doing every day. But we lie about it. Because when we say, as leaders, we're building these resilient learning teams, that we're coming at it and helping the team learn how to really get that shared responsibility through learning. Because you can't do what you're doing. You can't discover value. The discover part means learning. And so if you don't create a team that can learn, you won't really get that lasting value part. Now, we all pretend, Tricia, I'm an agilist. I'm a great leader. I'm a great learner. Liars. And I am guilty myself. I teach this stuff. I get up and speak. I've written a book about this stuff. I lie. I lie because there are so many learning inhibitors that are out there that just feel like a brick wall. They just feel exhausting when we say, create a culture of learning, create experimentation. You will hear that some of your speakers are going to talk about experimentation, learning, inspect and adapt. And we all go through the motions and act like, okay, we'll just learn. Aww. This will become a full-time job for leaders, is trying to help people get through the inhibitors. So you start with the goal, right? We have a purpose. And so I want to highlight an example where I had to really realize I'm a liar. I'm not as good of a learner as I thought I was. Because I started with a goal. On January 1st, I decided that I'm going to do a 10-second freestanding handstand as I approach 50. And I have never been a gymnast. In fact, I was told, you're too tall. So I've never done this in my life, but I was on January 1st, which, by the way, should never key decisions be made on January 1st. Never, okay? But I get some interest, and of course I have trolling friends, but I've decided to do this. What I don't tell anybody is my husband pushed me up against the wall. But I took this photo. It looks good, right? Like, you know, yeah, that's impressive, right? I couldn't get up there. My husband and my son basically had to and then my daughter quickly took the photo. But that's what I posted, right? Don't judge me. So here's the first one. It has baggage. Why would I set a goal for a 10-second freestanding handstand when I couldn't even kick up to the wall? I couldn't even get to the wall. And here I'm like, 10 seconds. Because for me, I had this mental image that kicking up to the wall was pathetic and not an actual goal. A real impressive goal would have been 10-second freestanding handstand. What am I doing this for? And we do this at work. I'm only successful if. I'm only successful if I do X, if I do Y, if this is the same as this person. When your next goal might be right in front of you, but you're still so focused on this definition of what success means. I had a mentee once who told me he was never going to be successful until he was an executive. And I asked him, why do you want to be an executive? And to him, he had no answer. It was just that was the definition of success. He did get it. He got to be an executive. And I got a phone call. He's like, I hate it. This isn't what I want to be doing. I want to be coding still. I'm like, then what? Like, what is your definition of success really in your head? Is it something that someone else has told you? Is it tied to baggage? Or is it something you really want? Because if it's something you really want, the learning inhibitor is less. But if it's something you've told yourself a story about, some baggage associated to it, you're in trouble. Because it gets harder. The leap is higher than what you have to bring. So when we tell ourselves this story, I'm only successful if, when it comes to baggage, we have to adjust and redefine it. Redefine that success. What is the goal for? Why am I really doing it? What's the potential? Was my goal really to have an impressive Facebook post? Or was my goal to get stronger? Was my goal to challenge myself in doing something I hadn't done before? Because it would have changed the conditions of success. The next inhibitor. Learning means unknown. I know that sounds like, oh, obvious. If you have to learn something, you don't know it. But here's the tricky part with the unknowns. You get in a false sense of security while you're learning, where you're like, okay, I figured out what I'm doing. I'm getting better at this. Like, I know how to work this. Like, I'm getting stronger. I'm able to approach this in different ways. I'm feeling more confident, getting a little cocky. I can crawl up a wall now, and it doesn't take me 30 seconds just to get to the wall. And I'm super proud of myself. I'm feeling strong, and I don't think anything about it until that unknown comes into the picture. And when that new unknown that I have not planned for, that I did not expect, that my cockiness started to take over, I didn't know what to do. And I don't have any control over myself. I'm like, I'm going to hurt my dog, and he found it funny, right? This is the problem. You get, Adam Grant calls it the top of Mount Stupid. Once you start getting a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of confidence, you're on top of Mount Stupid. Because a new unknown's coming for you. And something you haven't planned for, something you didn't expect. And that new unknown might be a little cute, like he's a little cute, but might also be really challenging as an inhibitor. Because we do something and we tell ourselves stories like, I'm sure everyone's fully engaged in the teams. I'm sure all these things are happening. I'm sure. But how do we know? Are we being intentional about engagement? Are we being intentional about discovering the unknowns and what might be happening for people? So we have to think about what are those steps that we want to take to try and overcome this inhibitor, to overcome the unknowns. What might happen next? And here's the powerful part about this. You can't just ask yourself. You have to start going, who else can I ask? Who else might be able to help with the unknowns? Because going back to that co-intelligence, you're going to think of something I didn't think of. You're going to think of something I didn't think of. Together, we're going to think of something we didn't think of individually. And so we really want to be thinking about how are we increasing that inclusivity so that we can make sure all voices are being heard. Because once all voices are heard, we have a better chance of finding those unknowns quicker and reacting in a way that is helpful as exploration. The third one. I know, obviously, means change. If you're learning something, you're changing something. I heard somebody recently, I wish I could source them, but it was at a conference, and somebody said, I love change when I present it. right? It's like we all can say change is great when it's the change I'm initiating. Like as leaders, we sometimes forget what it feels like when somebody else is making the change and bringing it onto us. But the word change freaks people out. It's up there with public speaking and evil animals, right? Death probably too. But change is terrifying, and yet it's one of the things I can guarantee. And I was that person who lied and said, oh, I love change. Until it was a change that I couldn't just easily make. So I started doing this, and I was so excited the first time I got up and got like a second, like not even a second, but just like had a little bit of hold time. And this was at a hotel, so I believe that the towel was my secret for a long time. But I was like, finally got it to where I could do it someplace else, and I was like feeling really like, yeah, I've got it. But I couldn't hold it. I would get up, but I couldn't hold it. So someone went, you need to change where you're looking. You're not looking down between your hands. And I heard the word change, and I felt myself, ugh. So I changed it in my head, tweak. Somehow tweak seemed easier. So I did a tweak, and I started looking, but now I couldn't get my butt over my shoulders. I couldn't get in alignment anymore, and I was frustrated. I wanted to go back. Like to me, this change, this tweak, actually sent me in the wrong direction, and I was pissed. I was mad. I was like, no, it's getting worse. And that's one of the problems with learning, especially as the change. It doesn't always mean going forward. Sometimes it sends you backwards. But I finally get to a place, I'm like, okay, look, see, I got better, I'm back, right? Finally got back. And then I sent it to one of my friends that's doing this with me, and she sent me back this. No woman wants someone to write the word heavy across her, but what she was highlighting is I still really wasn't straight up in alignment, right? But this is the hard part about change, is we think, I'm never going to be as good as. And when I do make a little bit of progress, it feels like I'm taking a couple steps backwards. And that is not fun. That's hard. All these little changes might mean regression. And that's an easy way to go, forget it. I just want the pretty picture in the first one. I don't care if I can't hold it, right? And we just start to say, forget it. It's not worth it, right? I'm never going to be as good as X, so why bother? And once we start letting ourselves tell ourselves this story, that inhibitor gets you. So instead, start thinking about what foundation you can really build. What's the base that I need? And that change, yes, might send me back, but it's because I'm building a new base. I'm building a new skill, and it's not about a comparison to the previous thing. I started thinking about how this applies a lot of times when it comes to creating that learning. And one of the things we get into this story of I'm never going to be as good as is because there's power dynamics in the teams. I don't care if you're all labeled or called or same title. There's lots of different power dynamics that can happen in a team that can prevent you from bothering. I wrote a book with Diana Larson. This is somebody like, she could be like, Trisha, it's raining outside and it's not raining. I'm like, oh, it must be raining. My eyesight must be bad. Like she could say anything to me. And I would be like, out of the sheer respect and appreciation for all the learning she has done for me over the years, it would have been really easy for me to just defer to her in writing this book. Nope, it's okay. I'll just, whatever you say, like, I'm not going to be as good as you ever, so like, She had to take steps to make sure anytime anything of that resemblance came out as we were co-writing, she checked me, right? She was not going to let that informal, influential power dynamic impact our result. But when we're making changes, when we're asking people to change, people will defer to that lead. People will defer to the person that they respect on the team. And if that person isn't stepping back to give space, The changes don't feel that shared responsibility and ownership. I was one of those people as a leader that always just said, don't think of me as your boss. I'm just one of the team. No. You are their boss. It is a power dynamic. And the more you pretend it's not there, the worse you are making it. You have to engage and acknowledge that it's there so that people can build that solid foundation together and not just rely on you. The next one is it takes time. I know, they almost get more obvious as we go along, right? Yes. The bigger the goal that you're trying to learn. If anybody had told me on January 1st I would be doing this over and over and over again every day since January 1st, no way would I have set this goal. But that's part of the story we tell ourselves. Why bother? There's no point now. There's no point in continuing to learn. Someone else will figure it out faster. Somebody else will do it better. Why bother? Tricia, you are not at an age that you should be doing handstands. Why bother? And we do this in the workplace. I don't want to try a new career. I don't want to try a new position. I don't want to try a new framework. There's no point now. I'm close to retirement. But there's always a point in learning. There's always a point in engaging. So we have to think about who can be the community that can support you while you're taking that time. It takes a long time. And when you're doing it alone, as much as those introverts in the room are like, I'm an introvert. People always say introverts don't like people. That's not true. Introverts like people, just certain people. But introverts gain energy different. They process information differently. Yes, me as an extreme extrovert will talk to anybody. But everybody wants to engage and be parts of different communities. Unless you're a hermit, and then yes, but I wouldn't recommend working in a team if you're a hermit. It's probably not a good choice, right? So I found a community. And in fact, I held people who posted on January 1st to actually doing it with me. So the one on the left is Angela, and Alistair Coburn, one of the Agile Manifesto authors, is in the brown shirt. I held them. I was like, no, you said you were doing this. We are doing this. But it's been cool, because there have been days that I'll message Reese Schmidt, who's in the teal shirt in the front, and I'll be like, handstands are stupid. And she's like, I know, it will be better tomorrow, right? And it's just, as every day, that time it's taking, you're building a community with people that can support you, that can lift you up, that can have a moment together where you can have a photo. And Alistair turned it into a whole inspect and adapt loop sequence of photos out on Twitter, Meta or whatever, X or whatever it's called. And it's pretty funny. So I looked for that community in helping me to deal with the time. And then people started joining the community. I've been pretty visible about it, and it's been interesting to watch. It's also interesting to watch how many men go, oh, I can do a handstand, and then not. That's enjoyable to me. But when I think about it, it's like, what are the connections out there that I need to make this feel not mundane? To not make this feel like it's the same thing day after day after day, but to make it feel like we're doing something together. We're experimenting together. That's powerful. What I didn't also understand is that it could be inspiring in a community. That even if someone didn't choose to do it with me, they wanted to hear about it. They wanted the updates. I actually joke, like Allison at the West Conference this year in June, she was the one showing everybody my handstands at the reception and things like that. She's like, look what she's doing. But that's part of the dynamic that makes the time feel a little bit easier. And the last one that I want to highlight is it means failure. Now, you've all been waiting for it, so here you go. Don't worry, I'll let you see it again. That hurt, people. It hurt a lot. I laid there for quite a while, but I did get back up and do it again. I need my check marks. I make lists of lists just for check marks. and I need it. And Allison and I had actually talked about me doing this keynote very early on in the year, and in my head I thought, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to build up to this in November. I'm going to be able to do this. And as the months got closer and closer and I still don't have a 10-second handstand, I felt my anxiety, the failure, my need for that check mark bubbling. And then I was at Agile 2023, and one of my friends looks at me and he goes, didn't you have Camtasia Studio at TechSmith? Slow the video down. Oh my gosh, I can slow a video down and you don't know. Yes! I was like, this is brilliant. But we do this in the workplace, right? We game the metrics. Because it isn't about the learning, it's about that check mark. So we just game it. And so now anybody who wants a video from me, they want me to toss a ball between, like around it or something so they can see. But this is what happens when you want that check mark. When it isn't about the learning, but that failure becomes too scary. When you don't know, am I still going to be successful? Do I get my check mark? So I had to really think about when I was increasing my visibility, what was going to push me to just game it, to just mess with the metrics, or what was going to push me to really be honest and transparent and visible about it. Was I just going after the 10 seconds, or was I paying attention to the progress, to the setbacks, to the differences, to the tweaks that I was making? What was I really paying attention to, and why? The hard part about failure is it inevitably means conflict. It means something isn't going to feel great. But if you avoid the conflict just for the check mark, did you really get the check mark? Because the conflict is what partially makes it better. That feeling. I know this will be surprising to you, but I'm not nervous to speak in front of people. Not at all. But no conflict is not healthy. It's not good. I want that little bit of angst in my stomach. Telling you about the handstand gave me a little bit. I actually was even nervous. A couple of you are in here, wouldn't have come to the keynote. You just wanted to see what I was going to do. Because I said I was nervous, right? And that conflict for some people is so uncomfortable. But I think conflict's great. Drama sucks. Drama bad. Conflict? That's what we get from the diversity. That's what makes things better. That moment where you're being a little bit more vulnerable. That moment when you're being a little bit more transparent with yourself and with others can be really, really powerful. In some of my lowest moments when I thought the conflict was too much and maybe even becoming drama, I tried to hide it. I tried to act like everything was just fine. I'm responsible. I'm the leader. It's my job. And when you do that, you tell the team that there shouldn't be conflict, that you're fine all the time. And it's no, I need to be more transparent about the conflict because it's just a problem to solve. Yes, it's uncomfortable, more for some, less for others, but it's just a problem to solve. And if we don't deal with the conflict, it becomes drama, and nobody wants that. So as I think about these 4 resilient learning elements, am I thinking about this in the teams? Am I incorporating this in the teams? Am I helping the teams consider these things? So when you're like, oh no, what do I do once they're self-organizing? You're focused on these elements. Which order? Who knows? They're puzzle pieces. But if you can take a minute and really get through these inhibitors, you can watch the team actually be able to accomplish things they couldn't before. I almost stopped right here and never did it again. Because I was like, yes! It wasn't 10 seconds, but I was so excited, so happy. But if you don't let the team settle, that's where you're leveling them up. That's where you constantly are doing something else. You're like, no, yes, let's celebrate this and let's keep going. This is how we get that lasting value, how we help them keep discovering value, how we keep leveling things up. Because eventually you're going to be able to do things you could not do before. I couldn't do this. Now I can hold this, no problem whatsoever. I wish I had started with this goal, people. That would have been way easier, right? But honestly, it wasn't. I couldn't do this until September. I couldn't do headstands. And now I'm working on moving my legs during them. But eventually I got to a place where I was really holding it. And my longest so far is 7 seconds. And I was beyond excited. By the way, you have to record every single one because the one time you don't is going to be the time you get it. Like, it never fails, right? But this is the dynamic that I think about, and even here, as honest as I can be with you, this still pops into my head. Another lie we tell ourselves, another story we tell ourselves. I'm in November, and I still haven't gotten a 10-second hold. What if I never get there? What if I never get my check mark? And what I've learned through this is that building resilient learning teams, as much as it hurts my heart, it's not about a check mark. And sometimes it's not about the end state. It's about the journey. It's about learning together. It's about building that community. It's about figuring out what you're capable of and what you're not, and how you push yourself through things that you didn't before. I ended up realizing that the pieces of the puzzle at times seem really easy, and at other times are really, really challenging. But the journey of learning and working together, building that co-intelligence, is what actually helps us create a culture without blame. Because the more we embrace learning, the more it doesn't even make sense. What's the point of blame? We're just learning through it together. So I feel sick to my stomach, but I said I was going to do it, and Pratik is going to hold me to it. So to succeed together, we have to keep learning. And this woman right now is going to try and do a handstand on the stage. But not in heels, because that's just stupid. I should have brought a chair up here so I could get my shoes off. It is live stream, which makes it so much worse. So people on live stream, please do not mock me here with this. In addition, I brought a coat because business silk shirts are not meant to stay tucked in, and I don't need to flash anybody. Can I unhook my mic?
Dan, will you? Oh, thank you. That's awesome, Tricia. I'm sure you'll see Tricia doing more handstands in the hallway somewhere today.
Do not try it unless it's against the wall, and do not get hurt.
Yes, disclaimer. Thank you. That was amazing. Great job. Thank you so much. I told you she was a ball of energy. Thanks so much. This is great. So many great lessons about being a team, building together, collaborating, that we all need to think about and we all need to learn in our organization. So thank you so much, Tricia. So now there is a coffee break in the expo, so you're going to get to go in there, and I will see you back here at 1:45 for Tariq's keynote, which is about AI, and I know a lot of you in your businesses are being asked to implement AI, and he's going to talk about that and tell you some great information about AI-powered Agile and DevOps, what to do, what not to do, and so it should be really awesome. So we'll see you back here at 1:45. Go get some coffee, visit the vendors, and then take some time to think about what sessions you're going to go to, and don't forget to evaluate speakers because it's really important to them. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you back here.